stop being okay with the struggle. You don't have to operate in the red. You don't have to be just barely breaking even. Find a partner that can truly help you. Make sure it's a very well documented process. You understand what success looks like. When should it be successful? So timing matters. You need to have that laid out too. But it's about finding that partner that wants you to succeed and is going to partner with you in helping you succeed. It's really easy. The hard part is finding the partner. But once you find the partner that is really sincerely out of goodness wants to help you, and they have a framework on doing it, and they're going to document what it looks like, I guarantee you're going to be successful.
Welcome back. And in this episode, we sit down with Shane Galvin of Power CFO. This is the second episode of a two-part series that we sit down with Shane talking about fractional CFOs. Just to recap, our first episode, we sat down and talked with Shane about the benefits of having a fractional CFO in place. Not only are you getting one CFO, you're getting a panel of CFOs across different industries. We also go into detail about his profit pyramid. This is a proven model that has benefited and has proven to be worked across multiple industries. In this episode, we're going to go into a deeper dive of the benefits of the fractional CFO and some examples of why it's beneficial to have a CFO in place. Whether you're looking to grow or improve your reporting or just having a partner up there at the top, having a CFO in place as a sounding board can benefit you completely. We hope you enjoy this episode, and this is the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum.
Welcome back to the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum, episode 2 with Shane. Shane, thanks so much for coming aboard for the second episode as we talk about the profitability pyramid, which is where you focus your efforts at Power CFO. Just for clarification, what exactly is your focus there at Power CFO as far as clients you help and the services you offer?
So Power CFO provides what I consider strategic fractional CFO services. And what I mean by that is our focus is on anything that we're doing is what is the ROI. Often you find there's a lot of good fractional CFOs out there, but they are a little bit more tactical. And nothing wrong with that. But we like to focus on how to help you grow your business. For us, it's all about cash. Cash is king. So that's why we're always looking for how we can partner with other, what we consider strategic partners to be able to provide that value for our clients. Because at the end of the day, bookkeeping is critically important, and we do assist with that. You need a strategy. And that's the difference. I mean, I've heard a couple different stats out there, but what is it more than, Brad, it's coming from looking at from the banking lens, more than 50% of businesses that start, they're failed in 5 years.
I believe it.
And a lot is why? Lack of strategy.
Right.
They might have great concept. You know how many times I've seen individuals that they had the hustle. They were delivering, but they were failing. Why were they failing? Because it's about cash. Business is about cash. So that's where Power CFO comes in. And the reason we created the profitability pyramid, we wanted it clean and easy to understand, visually friendly. I mean, you go to our Power Partners website, and we have the profitability pyramid, a smarter way to grow. We have it outlined out there. You're not going to see this any other place. Down below, how Power Partners financial advisory services work with you. It breaks each step down for you. And again, this isn't about, hey, use Power CFO, Profitability Partners. I hate to say it, it's almost like if you don't get help with us, please get help somewhere, right? We've always heard that, right? But we really mean it. We believe if we do good, 9 times out of 10, good comes back to us. So we lead with our heart. We want to help, and we know Let's cut through all the noise. This is all about cash. How do you get more cash to the bottom line? So everything we do, it's critically important to do it, but we know the name of the game is getting cash to the bottom line.
Right. What would you say is kind of your footprint, areas that you cover across the US? But also, what is your kind of perfect customer? What are you looking for in being partners with?
Yeah, we're fortunate. We have clients from coast to coast. And in today's world, especially after COVID, a lot of business owners, they don't care if you're able to walk in their door once a week and physically meet with them. They're more than fine doing what we're doing right now. Do virtual. We're good with it.
Yeah.
So we are blessed to be able to be coast to coast with it. Half our client base is staffing. We're very fortunate that when it comes to our CFOs, we have more strategic experience at the CFO level than I believe any other fractional CFO firm out there. We have over 100 years of experience. And why is that important? Is when someone works with us, they're not just getting one of our fractional CFOs that happens to be amazing. We do what we call CFO roundtable. And we sit down, a group of all of us CFOs get together and we talk through the challenges that our clients are going through. And so you're not getting just one amazing brain, you're getting 7, 8 different amazing brains giving that input, different angles in order to help you. And so I think that makes a big difference. And because I can't tell you how many times we have a client that said, we work with 2 other fractional CFOs before you, and they just didn't understand staffing. And I really got exhausted getting reports that didn't make sense to us in our industry. And they were really good, but they didn't know staffing. And so that experience really matters. Now, the other half, a lot of our clients, they're construction, medical, logistics. It's really scattered across the board. And the beauty behind that, again, is when you have a team of 8 CFOs that we can draw off of, that's a lot of amazing experience. And so we're able to help out. And again, I can't push it enough. A CFO should be focused on how to get you more cash.
So, quick question to reverberate the first episode. As a business development individual, my whole career, sell more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love sales. I love sales, but how many times, well, I can tell you, I've told clients this year, let's focus on ending the year with better clients than we started with. Okay. We all get it. Matt, Brad, if 20%, I think this is the stat, 20% of your clients run you 80% of the time. So just imagine if you said, hey, that 20% is not a good fit, Brad, what is a good fit? Well, that's not a good fit. If they want to pay for 2 to 4 hours a week, a CFO, but they want to run you 8 to 12 to 16 and not pay for it, they might not be a good fit. So when I look at this, and I want to come back to your question, Matt, but I want to wrap up Brad's, what is the ideal client? And we used to think ideal client was, do you have 15 to 20 million in revenue? Okay. That's not the solution. That's not the right individual. Not in all cases. The right individual is finding a business owner that is going to embrace a partnership with, nothing worse than going to an owner with some great direction. Hey, this is what the data says. And let's break it down. This is what success looks like. And they say, no, I don't want to do it. And they're just resistant to the change. So you need a business owner that wants to grow. We just got a new client and he said, the reason I went with Power CFO is I know you're going to challenge me. I want to be challenged. I don't want yes people around me. I know you're going to challenge me. That takes me back to, again, your question, Brad. We want to work with clients that say, you know what? I don't want to be the single point of failure for my company. I want to be challenged. I want to grow. I want to do better. That is the most amazing client, because you can do lots of amazing, fun things with a client when they have that mindset. Obviously, they have to be able to afford your services, but we have a good variety of service offerings to help get individuals in the door to start getting help. And then as they grow, we can add more and more and more to the service offerings. But it's all about the owner. We're looking for the owner that is open to change, open to partnership. That's what makes it different.
So walk me through the reality of working with a fractional CFO from an investment standpoint. You don't have to get into specifics, but yeah, I can't afford it. I'm struggling right now. As you know, that's a typical response most business owners have.
Yeah.
But hey, I think you should have an introduction to a fractional CFO. How
Yeah.
does that typically work from like a payment or overall structure standpoint for those that think it's too expensive?
Well, I can tell you it can be expensive. I'll say this, we don't take a client on unless we do a strategic discovery session, because we don't cookie cutter. We want to understand the unique DNA of the client. When we finish that strategic discovery session, now we understand the DNA of the client, where they're going. We just built them a business plan, at least at the 30,000 foot level. Matt, when we put that statement of work together, and part of that statement of work is, what does success look like? That's when they're going to look and say, if you do what the statement of work indicates you're going to do, we should find we should get $300,000 to the bottom line. And the cost, just like the cost might be 50,000. So now you're getting a 600% return on your money. So now to a business owner, they're not flying blind. They're not sitting there going, wow, I'm going to spend 50,000. I don't know what I'm really going to get out of this thing. Now they know exactly what they're going to get, and they have to determine, do they want to invest in this process with this documented, detailed statement of work that's going to get them a 600% return?
I think that's a good point. This is the value we're going to deliver. It's not just a blanket, hey, spend $50,000, like you said, just to get additional help in filing taxes or accounting work, where it's, hey, finance isn't accounting, finance, and just it's more strategy conversations on a part-time basis. You're not paying benefits and things along those lines. And that's what we're seeing with the fractional work. It's really just level setting the foundations in an industry from, as you mentioned, peers that can look at things, not just one CFO locked in a group think standpoint.
Yeah. And I think that's there's a couple of things that you laid out there, Matt. One, it's not just one CFO. Okay. So every one of our engagements, the client has a lead CFO, but they also, I'm there. I'm typically showing up for the biweekly meetings. I'm on the call as well. And the reason for that is, I think I'm both a good mix of CFO, but also entrepreneur. So I know where they're at with things. And so then we have another amazing CFO there as well. So they're getting the best, I think, kind of the best of both worlds. And Matt, I never charge for my time. It's blended in already. So they don't have to sit there and go, oh man, I got two CFOs I'm paying for. No, you're paying for one. You're just getting me. I'm kind of just hanging out and enjoying this and trying to help out. Right. And when we go back and we have these CFO roundtables, they don't pay for that either. So we now, you touch on a good point. Now, when it comes to our statement of works, Matt, we show them the value, the additional value that they're getting with us versus not. Okay. We even do benchmarking comparisons. So they see what other mid-market fractional CFO firms would charge for the same type of service that we're providing. And we typically are at 50 cents on the dollar versus those larger firms. So it's one of those things where, you have to be transparent. You have to communicate to, at this point, the prospect, that I just don't want a check from you once a month. I want to provide value to you. So you're not sitting there going, I don't know what I'm paying for. That statement of work is the gospel. We're following it to, as soon as they sign off, we're following that to a T.
Yeah,
and we're delivering.
I think it follows, just going back to the project management work that I've done in the past. You have like a scope of work, like you mentioned, and you follow these various KPIs and metrics. This is our plan as a strategic partner. A project manager is the same scope. So it's like, you know what you're signing up for. We're in a strategic partnership for however long the engagement is, whether it's just a retainer on a never ending basis. It's truly like we're locked in as a partner. I think that speaks to everybody we've had on this podcast, and just kind of, they're on this podcast for that reason. Realistically, we're not just trying to sell you a widget or something along those lines.
One
Well-
point I wanted to kind of bring up is, the fractionalization of CFO, I think, is going mainstream, which is great. And you talk about the round table, and I think this is where it's very beneficial. If I were to hire a CFO for my business, it's closed-minded. We all are going to assimilate to the same culture. We're all going to learn and understand the same things. We're all going to grow the same way. But the benefit is they have a pool of CFOs to talk to their peers in other areas. And here's where I find that they're really beneficial. Manufacturing in Detroit may be different than manufacturing in Texas and California. They may be seeing something in a market that you don't see today or yet. Have you seen this yet? So are you getting stretched on this part, and it's the same company? So you get to share that information. If you just had a CFO on your own, you're not getting that. You're not getting that valuable information. That's one thing. The other second piece too, I joke with my customer was, he goes, yeah, I hired a CFO. I said, well, here's a good thing. If you don't like them, they're contractual. You can let them go and you can pick a new one, right? And it has an end contract date. If you don't like it, train your SOW. Because just change it. Hey, I just want you on to close the books. Great. But what else can you do? Right?
Right.
You can come in and kind of be a strategic player. You can come in and do strategy. You can help us determine if we need that piece of equipment. Is it the best time to do it? How do we do it? Do you know any banking partners?
That's right. It's about the relationships. This is what's interesting is attorneys started the fractional work over 100 years ago, right? So think about attorneys nowadays. They typically they'll go and learn at another law firm, and then they go and do what? They open their own practice, right? So attorneys are only 100 years ahead of us because they're really smart people, right? But now you're having fractional CFOs go out and say, well, it's kind of the same thing. I'm going to go learn to be an amazing CFO by my time in enterprise working at Procter & Gamble, Labor Maxis, and stuff like that. Then I'm going to be able to take that knowledge, open up my own firm, right? Fractional CFO firm, and provide enterprise value to small and mid-sized companies. Again, they started this 100 years ago. We're just now catching up. And this is just imagine if anytime you need an attorney, if you had to go hire one full time. Nope. What do? You buy a fractional part of their time, right? In their case, typically project based, right? But we do project based as well. So it's the same type of process. Again, these fractional CFO firms are going down the same path as attorneys. We're just 100 years behind. So there you go. And now we were talking about the statement of work. These statement of works, I can't tell you how many times a client said, again, I've worked with a previous CFO or a couple different fractional CFOs. They never had SOWs. And I was like, well, how do you? No, they were just billing them and doing cookie cutter. You're going to get these 8 things. This is what we're going to do. Okay. Whether you want to use that report or not, this is how we do it. And I'm looking and saying, well, Are they really there to help you grow your business? Or are they there to grow their business?
Right.
And so, and I want to come back. The reason why a statement of work is really important too is you need transparency. I can't tell you how many times we have a new prospect, we put a statement of work together, and I highlight the areas that's more controllership than CFO. And I say, we're more than happy to do that, but you're going to pay 2 to 3 times more per hour to have a fractional CFO do it than if you got, let's go find you a fractional controller and let them do some of that. Because you're going to pay them $100 an hour, not $250 an hour, not $300 an hour. So I personally, what I've seen, Brad, more than half the time, the work that these fractional CFOs are doing for clients, it's controllership work. It's not even strategic CFO. So who's getting the value there? So that's where I'm talking about partnership, doing good matters. Is now I'll admit 9 times out of 10, I have a client says, I get it. I appreciate your transparency on this, but we're willing to pay it as short term to have you do it. Totally good with it, but at least they know. But ongoing, I've really pressed hard on clients to say, listen, do you really want us to manage your month-end process? Okay. You should a controller, there's fractional controllers out there. They're going to be 30, 40 cents on the dollar. Let us focus on different levels of that profitability pyramid where we could really make a true impact to your company. So that's why, again, I say 9 times out of 10 a lot, but 9 times out of 10, fractional CFO work, you should be able to put an ROI on that. You should. But it's an investment. And so individuals to say, I don't know, I can't afford additional expense. I agree. But, and Matt, this comes back to you back in the sales days. I don't think a sales team is an expense. I think it's an investment. You're investing anytime you're putting money into something that you should be getting a good ROI on. That's the goal. It's an investment. And the same thing with the CFO. 9 times out of 10, there should be a ROI that you can attach to it. And we put that in our statement of work. And if we don't deliver it, I'm upset. I want to deliver that statement of work. That's the Super Bowl. If you're delivering that statement of work, it's about winning for the client.
I think that I can speak to my personal experience. I'm like, listen, I'll throw out projections and realistically, what's your ROI going to be? Listen, if the ROI isn't there, don't move forward. At least you know it's an option. I think that speaks to you as well. We're happy to do controllership work if you want us to do that, and we can do more if need be, but at least you say you're not pushing more services on them unless it's a desired piece. So it's more, hey, we're happy to help out with this year-end planning, for example, but let us know if we can help with more. I think, Brad, you speak to that too, as far as the methodology that you take.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have an interview with the customers. What are your expectations? What do you need? Here's what we can do. Here's the rate. Here's what's going to cost you. And, we are a good fit or we aren't,
Right.
So I think that's really important, and and that's why the SOWs are really important, because you understand here's what we're going to do. Here's what we aren't doing. And
it allows you to tell the client, this is what you own. Okay, we're going to be able to deliver this, but often we're at the mercy of the business owner to do certain things so we can do what we need to do. And so what it does is, oh my goodness, we just created a partnership, right? It's you do that so we can do this. And if we both do this with excellence, this is going to be a success.
I think it brought me a reference to a consultant here in Detroit that said, I've done so much work with these high level organizations to put together frameworks, what you brought us in for. They pay so much money for it and they take no action. He's like, it's so frustrating because I dedicate my life work into this a month, let's say, for example, I'm on site, I'm doing all this strategic analysis, and they take no action. So he shifted, moving towards more middle market companies. And I want an investment from somebody. You're going to move forward with these recommendations. I don't want to paraphrase this individual, but I think it speaks to that whole point. Like, listen, we're in this together. Are you willing to make an investment to change your business?
I think that's a smart approach. And another thing that we do, Matt, is unless it's completely crystal clear what the next 12-month engagement needs to look like, we'll do a 6-month engagement and say, listen, this is what Q1 is going to look like by month. And this is what Q2 is going to look like by month. In this scenario, we start in January. Around May, let's revisit and let's look at what Q3 is going to look like. Because and we all get it. 5 years ago, Matt, if someone said, put a 7-year plan together, 5-year plan together, would you have known anything about COVID? Would you have known anything about AI? You just go on and on. Or did you know anything about tariffs coming? So that was brand new. So, I kind of get a good laugh when someone's like, oh, I got a 5-year plan. Well, good luck. I would rather focus on the next 12 months because so much can change. But it's how you focus on the next 12 months. And so in level 2, going back to level 2, we do what we call that quarterly health check. What that is it's a very in-depth SWOT analysis quarterly, and you're comparing it to your business plan. Because remember, when you did your business plan, you broke it up by quarter. So when you go, let's say we do this, and at the end of Q1 of 2026, we do an in-depth SWOT analysis. We compare it not just to the industry, but we compare it to what was the plan, what was in the business plan for Q1. We're going to identify, and we're going to know well before that because we've been doing those flash reports and stuff like that. But we're going to very strategically be able to identify what's the strengths of your business, what's your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And based off that, we, through a program that we have in AI, we can use artificial intelligence to come up with what the best strategy going into Q2 should look like. And so that's the kind of stuff that you want your CFO doing, is have a great process. If your fractional CFO doesn't have a process that's taking you step by step in achieving more margin to the bottom line, I'd be concerned. Okay. The other thing is, if your fractional CFO isn't looking regularly on ways to get more money to the bottom lines through utilizing maybe strategic technology, a different industry partner that can provide lots of value. I mean, we just did 3 webinars in October into November. We called the Power series, where we had other industry partners on the webinar, and we went through conversations of what does value look like when you look and try to identify the right strategic partner to, because we were talking about level 3, root cause diagnosis. When you find a problem, maybe industry partner is the right solution. How do you identify the right industry partner to help with that? And I think that's where a lot of people have problems, is you have a business owner that has only a certain amount of money and they're afraid to spend it because there's so many, I hate to use the word phonies, but there's people they talk a good game. You write them the check and you get no value out of it. So they're very skeptical across the board. They're reluctant to spend the money because everyone talks a good game and they don't deliver. So again, what we're looking to do here is, how do we show you a documented, proven process, the profitability pyramid, identify, because we also, with that, we have 40 diagnostic questions, easy yes, no questions that you answer. And based off how you answer, based off your revenue, It's going to give you a good projected amount of how much profit margin you're leaving on the table. Just imagine if you're a business owner, you're no longer making a decision blind. They just showed you a very documented process and how it works. And then when it comes to the statement of work, they're going to go one step further. They're going to document the statement of work so you know exactly what success looks like, what they're doing any given month. You're signing off on it and you're working together.
I think that ties into that partnership piece you talked about previously. So, quick question for you. Can you describe a specific example without naming names where one of your clients or someone came before you came on board invested in some technology or some potential partner where it really just like, what are you doing? Because oh, they promised this or that, and you have to navigate out of that potential relationship. Oh, we signed a
that's
1-year contract because this salesperson promised this and that
yeah.
because we know they exist, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this is kind of pretty cool. So when I started at LaborMax, they had already acquired Bullhorn, started working with Bullhorn, and they did an implementation. Unfortunately, it didn't go well. So when I pretty much my first day there, I had some of the partners come up to me and say, you need to focus on this Bullhorn. It's a very expensive investment and it's not going well. And then, and to be fair, I didn't even know what Bullhorn was. And I said, so what is Bullhorn? They said, we don't know. Because they had, they have over 20 partners that make up LaborMax. And some thought it was a CRM. We joke, and it's not this, but we joke at times going, maybe it's a Ponzi scheme. We don't know what this thing is. We were blind. I mean, again, this is before AI. So now you just go to AI. What is Bullhorn? It's going to tell you everything. You're like, dang, now you're a genius in less than a minute. But at that point in time, we had no idea. And for whatever reason, when I talked to my sales rep at Bullhorn, I swear I thought he was speaking a foreign language. I'm like, what is Bullhorn? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't even know what he's talking about. It's over my head. It's over every partner's head. And so we were going to go to Boston they have a annual conference called, I think it's Evolve. Okay. It's put on by Bullhorn. And at first we weren't going to go. The president of LaborMax said, no, we're not going to go. We're done with this. And I said, let's pause. Let's put ourselves in a position to be surprised. Let's just go. And let's see if we can be surprised here. We went up there, Matt, and on the second day, the president came up to me and said, I finally got it. This is going to be our ecosystem. And I was like, it's almost like both the light bulbs in our heads went off at the same time, where I'm like, yes, I finally just got this tip. So based off of that, we got back to Kansas City and we had to strategize. How were we going to make this second launch of Bullhorn a success? And it just doesn't start with, well, now that we know what Bullhorn is, let him come in and train us up. No, it's not that easy because we didn't have a culture that was going to adapt to Bullhorn really easy. I always joke that I felt like we were stuck in the 80s. Okay. We had a really good applicant tracking system that we're already using, but I guess it wasn't as robust as Bullhorn at the time. Didn't have all the bells and whistles. It didn't have an open API to where, you could do lots of amazing stuff, but it was good. You could tell it's very more basic. And that's why I said we were stuck in the 80s. So we had to go through and train up and change the culture. And we had an amazing team there where we had an individual. She should have became a college professor. She's just simply amazing. And we were like, you know what? We're gonna start LaborMax University. Okay. And we're gonna have you head this up. And she knocked it out of the park. Now, she couldn't have knocked it out of the park if she didn't have a lot of good, these owners at LaborMax were simply amazing. They were on board. It was a great deal. So everybody was swimming from a cultural standpoint the same direction. They were getting trained up through Labor Max University in the right manner. Now we can go through and start, Matt, doing the project management piece, really getting in and understanding, how do we need Bullhorn to work for us and who can help us with that? And most importantly, what does success look like? I do not like to do anything if we don't know what success looks like, because you're just flying blind. Okay. That is an amazing story. Bullhorn actually wrote an article about it. Let me go over to it really quick, if you don't mind.
But I think you bring up a great point. If you have or are trying to implement new software, you gotta get your people on board that
Yeah.
want to do better. You have to create that culture of, look, it's gonna be painful to get to do it, but realize what's the carrot at the end? How is it
Yeah.
gonna make our lives simpler? And you have to build that culture, because if you don't have their buy-in, it's gonna be really hard to onboard any new product, technology, or process for that matter.
All about the stakeholders.
Absolutely.
It's about buy-in. And I would also say you need that the Stone. Some of this stuff is almost like a different language, you know? So when you're used to doing something in, I'm making up English, and all of a sudden now you got to do it in German, you got to have a way of training people up and getting them in the position to where they speak that new language. If not, what did I say earlier? I can't tell you how many times we have a client that utilizes a new tech stack at 20% of its capability. It's because they never took the time to slow down and say, what does success look like for us? How do we get this to be successful? And reverse engineer all that, all the way to the point where now, oh, we got to change culture. We got to train people up. We got, who's going to own certain aspects, who's going to have oversight of those people who own it. It's an entire process. But we went from being shipwrecked, I think that's what the article is, going from shipwrecked to being a success. Over $2.5 million of bottom line savings was identified in this process. And so it can be a success, but you got to slow down. I even have a note here. I look at every day, slow down and explain. And if Labor Max maybe would have done that early on, they wouldn't have been shipwrecked. But through amazing leadership from the president at the time, all the way down to all the owners, to amazing team that we had, it went from being shipwrecked to a success. But getting back to the profitability pyramid, that is, when we talk about level 4, which is smart solution design, level 5 is execution and accountability. I just laid that out. Level 6 is sustainability and continued improvement. So you got to, once you get through the process, now you got to keep it going, so the train doesn't go off the track. And so that's why the profitability pyramid is so important, is it literally takes you from level 1 all the way up to level 7 very strategically, in how to be successful and get more margin to the bottom line.
I think that's a great reference as far as a framework versus just we hire these people to do the work for us. And here's the framework, how we're going to work together to build the ideal outcome of what you're trying to do as a business, and as a partner, what I can provide to you. So in closing, what do you want the listeners to know, or how can we help you all together within the business or just personally?
I would say the key is stop being okay with the struggle. You don't have to operate in the red. You don't have to be just barely breaking even. Find a partner that can truly help you. Make sure it's a very well documented process. You understand what success looks like. When should it be successful? So timing matters. You need to have that laid out too. But it's about finding that partner that wants you to succeed and it's going to partner with you in helping you succeed. It's really easy. The hard part is finding the partner. But once you find a partner that is really sincerely out of goodness wants to help you, and they have a framework on doing it, and they're going to document what it looks like, I guarantee you're going to be successful. It's no different than if you go to the doctor and the doctor says, Matt, you change your diet doing this, you work out 3 days a week, okay? And you make sure you're going to start taking some melatonin so you get some better sleep, lay off the whole pot of coffee every day, that kind of approach. I guarantee your blood pressure is going to go down, right? It's measured. They're telling you what to do. Now, if you went into the doctor and they said, the first thing they say to you, Matt, is, damn, good luck. I can help you, but let's just take this week to week. I probably wouldn't want to work with that doctor. Have a game plan.
I think that's perfect. And the analogy is so relevant. I just had a sleep test done. And the first thing the sleep doctor said, lay off the coffee. And so the wife, she's like, I don't believe you're going to stick with tea. I'm like, I'm going to try. But as I drink another cup of coffee here.
Right. Maybe cut to an espresso. But what it comes down to is it's the same way in business. If a business owner slowed down and thought about their business, no different than their body, and said, what is the health of my business and how do I get it healthy?
I think it's realistic. Don't operate in the red. Realize my margins are so much lower than where they should be. I have a cash flow issue. I have some potential operational issues. Maybe I should bring somebody in just to look at it objectively.
I would even go back further and say, even if you think your business is great, get a second opinion. I did that 5 years ago. I went to the doctor. I felt great. But guess what? I started hitting my mid 40s. So it's time for that annual health, to getting in the rhythm of the health check. My blood pressure was 178 over like 145. I felt great. And she's like, that's not good. I was like, I don't even know what blood pressure is. I really didn't. I mean, you heard it, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't care. But I cared. I cared at that point in time when I heard about how serious it was. So my point is, Matt, so often a business owner, they think they're killing it, and there's a blood pressure issue. And you don't want to turn around and find out, oh my goodness gracious, I was leaving 5 margin points on the table for, how many times I've heard a business owner say, I wish I met you guys 5 years ago. Because they see how much money they were leaking in margin. They just had no idea. They thought things were great.
Because they have the relationship, and there's so many variables, but at the same time, it's like there's so much more potential on the table that you don't realize. I think that's critical. I love the analysis you had with the heartbeat of the business, your personal health, and just bring in a doctor that just can say, hey, within your personal health, bring in somebody that can have a different perspective to really drive results for your business. It's so, so critical.
Yeah.
Anything else in closing from you, Brad?
No, this is a good conversation. I believe what you said is so true. Is get that health check. There's always something in a business you can always be doing better. You're good at what you do, but realize there's other people in the market that can help you. And just find that good partner, find a good relationship, and it's not like to say, everybody have an oar in the water and let's all row the same direction.
100%. A strategic partner that cares about your business is so, so critical.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Again, we appreciate the support for what we're doing with the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum. And again, reach out to Shane. His contact information will be listed below. And ultimately, we're here to add value.